the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It seems kind of like a dark day. Even though where I'm at, the sun, well, it's shining out there. It's still shining, yeah. We got just some dark activities going on, really. And this one got me at the end of the day, so I'm going to make it the first thing. In fact, I'm going to make it the top story. The top story. So let's do that. This just in, 3 United States Marines found dead in their car near Camp Lejeune. Well, they're not saying what the cause of death is. They're not saying anything. Well, a speedway, folks, is a gas station. And so they were in a speedway parking lot. They've got cameras. They know what happened. Marines just don't die. In fact, you're not allowed to die unless you have permission. Now, I could see 1 dying of something, but 3 dying all at the same time. It's just weird. It's just weird. I'd like to see what is going on. You know, there should be an APB out. Oh, points bulletin, right? Something happened. A bad thing happened, right? They were just waxed, assassinated by a killer. Why wouldn't they want that out? Is it that they don't want to catch? What are they going to do? Tell us that the security cameras were down for maintenance? It's not like these guys were Jeffrey Epstein or something that they need to hide it. Why? I have a lot of questions. Why? In fact, I want to know why Governor DeSantis was in a car accident. I want to know where Obama was, right? Where is Obama? That's right. Yeah, Governor DeSantis was in a car accident. He's out on the road campaigning, doing that political thing, which I'm not particularly fond of. He was in Chattanooga or on his way to Chattanooga. You know, why even bother? At this stage, Governor DeSantis, why even bother? The politics in this country is crazy. Anyways, I want to know where Obama was. I want to know where Hillary was. Is she in Chattanooga or is she in Camp Lejeune? I don't trust these people. Why? Because the noose is actually getting tighter and tighter on the Biden's neck. It's getting tighter. The prediction came in a couple of days ago that he's just going to resign. He's going to have a health crisis. Folks, we've been talking about him choking on a hot dog, slipping on a banana peel, crashing down the stairs on his tricycle, and dying that way. He's got to at some point. The man is a walking time bomb of stupidity. I have no idea, zero clue why they won't get rid of him, except they're afraid of his replacement. Right? A lot of people are dying. A lot of people need to disappear. There's a lot of dark shit going on, and let's just go right to it. I covered it in this morning's video. I want you guys to put your questions, comments, and thoughts about, that's right, Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama's chef. We've got some updates to that story. I talked about it this morning extensively. I think it was some kind of love tryst or love triangle between Barry, Michael, and the chef. And someone caught someone checking someone's meatballs out, and they didn't like it. So the chef went paddleboarding and drowned. And again, nobody paddleboards on a pond. Why bother? It's stupid. Something's going on, folks. There's a lot of people. A lot of crazy stuff going on. So we're going to get into it here. We need to be prepared. We need to have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense. We need to have that with our plan. Why? Because we can't trust these people. There was a time when, well, the media gave a shit, and the country was closing in on some accounting errors made to the tune of $2.1 trillion at the Pentagon. The very next day was 9/11. That's right. They wanted to know what's going on. And the very section of the Pentagon where all of the information regarding this missing money was being stored was what was hit by a missile, a plane. What a coincidence. I love coincidences. Like when a chef dies and they say, he drowned while paddleboarding. If the guy couldn't swim, I'm going to love this racial stereotype that blacks can't swim or don't like to swim and are no good at swimming is bullshit. In fact, the chef took swimming lessons just a couple of years ago. Swimming isn't a mystery, by the way. It's not a mystery. You paddle your arms and feet and you stay on top of the water, even if you've got zero body fat. And at the age of the chef, he didn't look like he had zero body fat. And I want to hear this. Well, it's a buoyancy thing. No, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. There's a lot of dark stuff going on, folks. Let's take a look at this. Biden has created an Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response. Really? We're going to be preppers now for pandemics. How about that? Let's chalk another one up for all of us. We've been prepping for that for how many years? Well, you should have been, right? For pandemic, let's see, gas masks, antibiotics, first aid kits, and lots of ammunition to keep zombies away from you. That's prepping for the pandemic. Keeping in good health, that's right, exercise, good diets. And of course, in a real pandemic, you're not going to want to go to the store. In these fake pandemics, we need to go and make sure that we have a good supply of beverages. Anyways, screw Fauci and Biden too on this. A permanent Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response. Right? It sounds to me like they want some more medical martial law. That's what it sounds to me like. These people are one-tracked. It would be interesting, if they finally get to the point where Biden might be impeached. In fact, I think Speaker of the House, Kevin Don't Ever Do Shit McCarthy, actually spoke the word impeachment, or at least hinted at it. What's he going to do? He's controlled. The reason he doesn't do anything is because he's not allowed to do anything. Are you starting to feel like our government doesn't serve us? Like there is no justice, there is no intelligence in DC? It's just a rubber stamp for someone much higher that's just above the screen that we can't see. Right? People like Obama and Soros, Gil Bates, Zark Zuckerberg, European aristocracy, the banking cartels, they're just out of our sight. And they're the ones saying what needs to happen. Well, there's going to come a time, folks. It happens every single time. People revolt. Are you prepared for it? Are you? Literally. Now, let's have some more fun, shall we? Let's do it. Let's have some more fun. Here we go. Oh, right. There's a big, giant, brilliant rocket scientist out there. His name is LeBron James. Oh, no, wait a minute. His job is to throw a leather ball through a hoop. That's right. The NBA's very own LeBron James. Well, a lot of people think he's a big, fat jackass and a racist. I don't think he's that. But I want to know, is he going to be a big, tough guy with what has happened? And if you haven't heard about it, here we go. His son, that's right, the son of LeBron James, his name is Bronny. No, not like the Brawny paper towel, which probably would have been a better name. But Bronny had a huge heart attack. Did he do that? Did he do that lifting weights or running a marathon? Was he playing 6 straight basketball games in a row? No, he was at practice. Practice. Folks, I remember basketball practice when I played basketball, not professionally. You would run around a little bit. You'd do some sprints. You'd, practice dribbling, shooting. You'd do the plays, special inbound plays, some trick plays. You'd practice the full court press, the half court press. You do stuff, right? But practice is not the same as a game. It's not as exciting. It's not as scary. It's not as intense. It's just practice. Why did Bronny have a heart attack? He's been rushed to the intensive care unit, and there's some issues here because LeBron, Daddy Bron, has stated in the past that the Jim Jones juice was best suited for him and his family. So I'm guessing good old LeBron and his son Bronny were fully juicinated. Well, we're going to have to take them at their word, folks. I can't see any other reason why a super athlete at the age of 18 would have a heart attack while goofing off at a fucking practice. Take a wild guess. Now, LeBron James has a big fucking mouth. Makes my mouth look small. He has a big mouth, right? A policeman, saves a black woman, saves her life. So what's LeBron got to do? Talk a bunch of shit and threaten to kill the cop, or say the cop needs to die. Because he shot a black woman who was going to stab a black woman to death. I guess you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in LeBron's world, because he just wants to damn everyone. Anyway, I think he's a damn asshole. Still, is he going to talk shit about big pharmaceuticals over what has happened to his son? Trust me, Bronny is not going to be in the NBA. Bronny's done. They're going to find out how clogged he is. His legs, his arms, his chest, his arteries, his heart, his lungs, his brain. I feel awful for people who have taken the Jim Jones juice because they thought they were doing the right thing by listening to Fauci and Kamala Harris and Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. And they succumbed to the threats made by Joe Biden. It went from with Trump, hey, go ahead and take it, to you better take it with Democrats. Take a wild guess, folks. Do you think Bronny's ever going to play? No. And not that I really give a shit if he plays again. But this physical conditions of millions or billions of people, it's just going to get worse. But I want to know, is LeBron going to talk shit, or is he going to be silent and essentially sell out his son? Think about it. If he went and got him and his family injected, right, and this has happened to his son, he did it, right, because he believes in something. What does LeBron believe in? That's really what he believes in, folks. That's really what he believes in. I want to know. And what's interesting is you and I, we took a wild guess. I'm sure if this is the first you've heard about it, is me bringing it up, I'm sure that you instantly said, yeah, I know what caused that. Why would an 18-year-old super athlete have a freaking heart attack at a practice while goofing around? You don't have to be Elon Musk to figure it out, folks. In fact, Elon Musk has even suggested that LeBron James' son, Bronny, his heart attack may be linked to the Jim Jones juice. Really, he tweeted that. Maybe. Really, it may be linked. It's kind of like mental illness may be linked to people who are transgender minded. Yeah, there's a link there, all right. It's correlative, period. It correlates, folks. I don't ever ever remember talking about athletes in their teens having heart attacks. Ever. Ever. I mean, ever, folks. I tell you, it's been rather dark. I'm going to give you some more on World War III. Okay, if you think that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, wouldn't sacrifice the shit out of everybody, literally. If you think Dr. Fauci would hesitate for a second to send people off to the death zones, if you think that Bill Gates is going to hesitate when he gets an opportunity to screw us over again, let me tell you a little bit about this. And this comes, folks, from a left-wing military, a left-wing financial newspaper. It's so obvious that even a left-wing brain-dead newspaper that usually covers finances called the Wall Street Journal. This is the quote. Western military officials knew Kiev didn't have the training or weapons to dislodge Russian forces. So who are the Western military officials, folks? Well, that would be NATO, and that would be the Pentagon. That's right, Biden's military advisors at the Pentagon. And NATO, folks, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that includes the United States of America, Canada. Don't want to leave the Canucks out, they're just as guilty. And then European military forces. They knew, folks, if they knew, and this is what the Wall Street Journal is claiming, if they knew that the Ukraine military didn't have proper training, nor proper weapons, then that was the equivalent of sending the Ukraine military on a suicide mission. And it looks to me and it smells and it seems like they were doing this all along. All along. This is what they were doing all along, folks. Sending Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, the military of Ukraine to their deaths. Because that's all we've heard about. They're forcing people to join the military in Ukraine to defend their country against an army that is just sitting there with its teeth out and its swords and knives out, waiting for the Ukraine military to come crash themselves on it and get ripped to bits. They're not invading Ukraine, folks. They're occupying federal or Russian Federation territories. That's what Russia is doing at this point. And they keep sending Ukraine military in, and it's a meat grinder. It's a freaking meat grinder. So what does that say about the Pentagon? What does that say about NATO? What does that say about the political leadership in Washington and the military leadership in Washington? They're willing to do that. They're willing to do that to Ukraine. It's funny how they say they love Ukraine, and we love Zelensky, and we love the Ukraine people. Yet this is what they do to them. This is how they show them love, by sending them to their certain deaths. And we've heard about it for months. They're either dying or they're leaving. So the story is starting to change. The story in Europe is starting to change. And I've got a story here about Austria. An Austrian, well, I should say not just one, but a lot of Austrian conservatives. They're now opposing the European Union's expansion of Ukraine funding. They're calling it scandalous. It's worse than scandalous. It's murderous. It's murderous. So yeah, the conservatives in Austria, folks. And remember, if you don't remember, Hitler was not German. Hitler was Austrian. So you would think, well, if the Germans were bad, then obviously the Austrians are even worse because they produced none other than Adolf Hitler. Well, folks, the Austrians are like no more funding the war. You see, this accusation has been coming through the last 3 days, is that Ukraine would stop fighting if everyone would stop giving them weapons. They would have no choice but to stop fighting. They would do what, a ceasefire, or would they actually sue for peace? I wonder which one they're going to do, right? Like right now in North and South Korea, folks, if I understand this correctly, if my memory serves me correctly, the Korean conflict has never been finished. It was never sued for peace. We're just in a ceasefire. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to have to check into that. Maybe Uman knows the facts on that one. I think that we're just in a prolonged ceasefire. Anyways, let's continue with this idea, right? Have the Europeans had enough? Has Austria? Austria sounds like it has. I think the people have had enough. Ukraine is a lost cause. Or, at best, it's a World War III danger. Folks, I hope you're prepared, because if they continue to push this, as described, they're going from regular munitions to long-range missiles. Now they're using cluster bombs, and they're using drones to attack Russian civilian infrastructure, as well as Russian military bases. They're not fighting. They're trying not to fight in Ukraine. They're trying to fight in Russia, because they can't win in former Ukraine states, which are now Russian Federation states. So now they act like terrorists, and they're becoming more, how do we say this? They're becoming more aggressive. Is this what we want? This is why I say you should be prepared. You should. Get your questions in, your comments in, your thoughts. Get them all in. Folks, we've got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. I mean, it's Kevin McCarthy saying that the corruption within the Biden administration is, quote, rising to the level of impeachment inquiry. Something we haven't seen since Richard Nixon. Oh, come on, man. This guy is so full of bullshit. Nixon had a few of his men go through a Democrat office. That was it. It was a break-in, and that was considered so scandalous that the president, who was in on it, needed to resign before he was impeached, and the impeachment was coming fast. See, McCarthy didn't say impeachment. He said impeachment inquiry. Now, Biden didn't break into someone's office, folks. He broke into that former president's house using the FBI to storm, to raid with armed combatants the former president Donald Trump's home. Biden has had his Department of Justice, his Attorney General's office, and the FBI harass, intimidate, frame Trump, and he has used his power, folks, to stop his son, Hunter Biden, from being investigated, both internationally and domestically. They've hid his crimes, stopped the press from reporting, and we're supposed to think that, well, he's finally gotten to where Nixon was. Nixon was involved in a minor break-in of a Democrat office at a chicken shit hotel called the Watergate. Biden's offenses, folks, taking millions of dollars in bribe money, far exceeds anything Nixon ever dared he could be convicted of or accused of or be associated with. Just a sham. Oh, it's dark. It is just absolutely dark. Where do we go next, folks? Where do we go next? The chef that died for Obama, or at Obama's place. Yeah, he could have been Obama's son. Remember that when Trayvon Martin, right, got killed by George Zimmerman? Was it George Zimmerman? His last name was Zimmerman, and they thought he was white. No, he's Hispanic. Sorry, but he was like that Trayvon could have been my son. Did nothing but push and push and push for racial division. Right? Crazy. By the way, let me just give you the chef's name. So when you hear it, you know who the hell they're talking about. His name is Tafari Campbell. Tafari Campbell. He took swimming lessons in 2019. Now, the war in, shall we say, former Ukraine states between Russia and Ukraine is not the only attack that's happening to our country. Putin has now signed in a law, folks. They're introducing the digital ruble. That's right. They're going to have themselves a digital currency. What do you think that means, folks? That means they're going to be able to transfer wealth electronically in a way they haven't been able to do so before. This is going to continue to open Russia up to business around the world and sidestep the American SWIFT system, which is a system that's been weaponized not only by the Biden administration, but by the United States government for decades now, by using sanctions as a tool. Well, this digital stuff, folks, they're going to use it to free themselves. But don't worry, our banks in America and Europe are going to use a digital currency system to enslave us if they can get away with it. Keep an eye out. The 22nd of August is coming up, about a month. And they've been saying for, well, several months now that, well, the BRICS Union is going to announce a commodities-backed and or gold-backed currency system for exchange internationally. Have you noticed that the United States is becoming less and less of a place under the leadership of the U.S. government? Not our fault. It's just becoming a kind of a shithole. Remember when Trump called these third world nations a shithole? Well, here we are, folks. We're looking down a barrel of the same gun. Now, no prepared mind broadcast in 2023 would be complete without discussing the fruit salad, folks. But get this, folks, and get your questions down below, because as soon as I'm done with this particular topic, we're going to turn the show over to you. If you are a Prepared Mind subscriber at the club or at subscribestar.com, you can be here live and you can ask these questions. You can join us and ask real questions about what's really going on. And if the topic is a little too spicy for YouTube, I'll be sure and put it into code. Anyways, folks, the transsexuals, the transgenders, the people who are in transition, they don't know what's coming for them. And apparently there are thousands and thousands of people who are in the position of the person that I'm going to tell you about. The person is now over 10 years into their transition, and now they're detransitioning, going back, trying to go back. So this detransitioner, folks, well, she was originally named Prisha. She wanted to be a boy. Well, she has filed a massive lawsuit against those who aided her sex change when she was only 15. And she is now disfigured. That's right. When she was 15, folks, she had anxiety issues, anorexia issues. Back then, she had gender confusion, right? They call it dysphoria. Her parents, well, they wanted to help, but a gender therapist helped confuse the situation so that little Prisha went through with getting a double mastectomy and other genital mutilating operations. So it sounds like with this gender therapist and people that were there to help, sounds like the teachers and the agenda-driven shrinks, they screwed with her head and screwed with the parents' head. The surgeons, folks, maimed, mutilated, disfigured, destroyed her anatomy. Now, this is what Prisha Mosley said in an interview. quote, I was promised male puberty, and instead I got menopause. How interesting is that? Now, little Prisha's parents were told in front of her, they said these words in front of a 15-year-old and anxiety-ridden, anorexic, gender-confused child. The parents were asked, quote, would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? Talk about unethical and criminal. Now, Prisha said that her parents were manipulated and they were blackmailed essentially through the system. I don't know if that's the right term, but that's what she said. And they felt that their consent was stolen from them. But when I look back at, well, who did this? Aren't the psychologists and counselors and therapists and surgeons, aren't they the experts? Don't they know everything like God? Now, I would like you to recall my report to you from a nurse, a brother of the Prepared Mind Network. He's a recovery nurse. He's a trauma nurse. He's a surgeon, surgical assistant nurse. He's in that world, big time operations. He has worked all over the place, but especially in San Francisco, right? Big hospital, folks. And he says every gender change, every transgender operation patient asked the same question. A small variation in the words, maybe, but when they woke up, he said every last one of them said, did I do the right thing? Asking the nurse in recovery if they made the right decision. Why would you ask a nurse that who's helping you wake up from anesthesia and getting your nuts cut off or your tits? He's a nurse. He's not a counselor. He's not a therapist. He's not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist. He's not a surgeon, right? He's a nurse, and they're asking him, what does that say about their mental state? Whoops, too late. Folks, thousands of kids have been subjected to this, thousands of them, and they're trying to go back. What do you think is going to happen? How many of them are unstable, angry, and want everyone else to know about it and even pay for it? Why do you think that fruitcake in Tennessee killed those helpless, innocent children, as well as killing adults at that Christian school? It's not because it was sane, right? That was a tranny that was violent in an incredible and dangerous way. Let's do it, folks. It's time for the inner circle. All right, Mr. Ooman has let me know we've got a lot of questions, so let's get through them. Let's get to them. What do we want to bring up first? Topic number one, out of the grab bag of joy, it is Ooman himself. Ooman says, John, your conclusion earlier today, which was that, the chef of Obama was involved in, a love triangle, and someone got their meatballs boiled. Anyways, he said, your conclusion earlier today essentially boiled down to, it was the chef choked on a hot dog, Michael, Barry's, or both, in the canal with the paddleboard. And I say Miss Scarlet witnessed it all, Colonel Mustard and Professor Plum and the whole lot of them. Corsair trainer sent this. And he said the chef spotted an assassin trying to poison Obama. He heroically chased him to the beach where ultra make America great again Trumpsters waited and ambushed him. We should start planning the 15 funerals for him. He is Saint Chef. He's right up there with, Saint George Floyd. That was a good one. I just, what theory what actual facts are they going to give us that are going to be more believable than either Corsair's theory or my theories, right? You really believe that he went and he just drowned in the water? If he couldn't swim, right? Why would a man who couldn't swim go out in the water where he could drown? It'd be like me standing on the edge at the door of a plane that's open and I don't have a parachute, and am I going to jump out? No, I'm not going to get anywhere near that door. I'm not going to get anywhere near the water if I can't swim. But we know that the man could swim. And if he couldn't swim and he just had to get in the water, why didn't he wear a life vest? Yeah, the whole thing stinks like Joe Biden's Depends underwear after a 12-hour session. Yikes. Okay, let's move on. I know we got a lot to cover here. So Name Redacted says, hey, John, on the chef thing earlier, I just wish to point out that in a wealthy person's home, the chef works in the command center. Just like Uman has the mobile command center, chefs work in the household command center, the kitchen. They hear and see most everything. They do a bunch of answering the phone and letting people in, as well as run errands outside of the house, security protocol. In investigations, they are easily excused away as only the cook. Yeah, I saw a movie that was called Red October. It was the cook who was going to incinerate the Red October by lighting off a nuclear weapon. Yeah, it's always the cook. Yeah. You know, they have access to sharp knives, telephones, and apparently we're supposed to believe that they can get around protocol. Protocol, huh? In fact, I'm gonna add to Name Redacted. I'm gonna add to his theory, and I'm gonna bring in a little bit of Corsair and a little bit of what I said. You see, the chef can get around protocol of the most powerful men in the world, including Michelle Obama. He left the Obama kitchen without security knowing it, and he went to the White House to go in their kitchen because he can get around the security. And he's the one that left the bag of cocaine in the White House. That's right, folks. It's the chef. The cook did it. Actually, wait, I thought the butler did it. The butler, the houseman, is the one who answers the door, answers the phone. Maybe not the butler or the chef, the secretary. That's right. Rich people have secretaries that handle their business, do their day-to-day administrations, so that the big guy, you know, like Biden, he's the big guy. So the big guy can have his sexcapades, kind of like Clinton, who had his sexcapades in the kitchen with Monica Lewinsky and pizza. Remember how they had pizza parties? But wait a minute, Obama liked pizza too, but when he used pizza, he would order it from Chicago and hot dogs, but it was in reference to children. Yes, what a dangerous web we weave when we talk about the Obamas' need to deceive. These are some sick fucks, folks. That's what they are. We'll never know the truth because it will never, ever come out. It can never come out. The kitchen's a command center in most houses, but I don't know about the Obama's house. I'm sure that he's probably down in the basement with Michael doing whatever it is they do, which is really kind of gross. Okay, let us move on. Thank you, Name Redacted. And Chin Music checks in. He says, Uman legend has it Mike's is much bigger. I tell you what, I'm going to say that Big Mike is called Big Mike, not because Michelle has a small unit. Yeah, Big Mike, the only woman with a bulge. Have you ever seen Michelle Obama's legs? an ass. She is not a narrow, slender, fawn-like creature the way Melania Trump is. She has robust thunder thighs. Now, not that that's a bad thing, but if her balls, I mean, if her bulge is so big that it extends past her thighs to create a bulge in her dress, what does that say about what's going on downtown? Fuck. I don't know. Downtown. Everything's waiting for you. Downtown. Okay, man, let's roll, dude. I see you laughing at me. Jane Dixon checks in. Thank you, Jane, for the great support. In fact, I want to thank everybody for supporting this channel. Thank you so much. Whether you're on Subscribestar or at thepreparedmind.club, the club, but also YouTube. And then there's people who anonymously donate funds and information and support. And I want to thank you. Anyways, Jane says, John, explain to me what censor means. Adam Schiff was censored, but still on the Judicial Committee. Well, I'll tell you what. A censor, like we know what censorship is, right? It's to silence someone. Well, in the old days, if you were part of an august body and you had done something that was really bad but didn't require expulsion, you would be censored. Essentially, it's a way to say nobody likes you, you made a huge mistake, you're an idiot, you're disreputable, right? We can't get rid of you, but you should, if you have a modicum of shame and modesty, shut yourself up. The censor was given to say, everybody, you can't trust that person, right? He should have been kicked off the Judicial Committee. He should have been expelled from that. He should have been expelled from Congress because his lies resulted in the impeachment of a president. That's right. His lies weren't inconsequential. He wasn't poking at another congressman or senator or a lowly private citizen. Right? His lies were aimed at the president, at the office of the president, using power that was, how do I say this, abused in a way that hadn't been abused to that degree before. He should have gotten more than a censor. And yeah, they're treating it, well, he treated it like an award. And all of the Democrats jumped up and down, right? Yay, look what you did. You got censored for all of your shittiness. It doesn't mean shit in all truth. I believe Bill Clinton was censored. I believe he was prior to being impeached. But just like being impeached, that doesn't necessarily remove you from office. You can be impeached and stay in office, and you can be censored and stay in office. But I think Adam Shift his pants, bug-eyed Adam ought to be expelled from Congress altogether. And he ought to be prosecuted for using his power and his position of authority in an abusive fashion and lying. There's a difference between free speech, sure, and lying using the authority of office. You see, there's a big difference. If I say, Adam Schiff should be punished, if I say it, it's one thing. But if I were to use my authority in the government to punish someone unjustly, that's a little different than just saying the words. Because Adam Shithead had the power and he abused it knowingly, willfully, and in front of God and the world. He didn't give a shit. Okay, Jane, thank you very much. It's a good question. People need to understand that the Republicans are absolutely failing in Congress. And it's because of the leadership. If you don't have good leadership, you will not have good public servants. And that's exactly what they are. They're public servants. They should be serving us and our needs, the people and the nation, not themselves. Who are they serving? Look at their bank accounts and tell me who they're serving. All right, Mr. Uman, let's roll, brother. Charles Gentry steps up and says, just found out today that we have a new social disorder, time blindness. The condition of this disorder's sufferers is the inability to be on time. Is that it? It's time blindness. How about, I don't know. It's just, hey, Uman, come on, man. Yeah, you got to come on the screen here if possible. Is this real? Is this
Oh, hell yeah. That seems to be something that the millennials and all these younger generations suffer from. I mean, when my son started his last job before he moved to Florida, one of the things on his annual review was they absolutely gloated about how he shows up every day and he's on time and early. Everybody else, they show up when they want, don't show up other days. I've experienced the same thing here with some folks, and it seems to be a real thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. The back in California at my corporate job, we had this rule about being on time. You're not allowed to not be on time. If you're going to be late, you have to call in. If you make a habit of it, you get written up. You get written up a few times, you're gone. This time, I do understand it though, and I still don't understand why people are allowed to sit on their phones and play at work.
Yeah, the old saying my dad always said was early is on time is late, and late is not acceptable.
Early is on time is late, and being late is not acceptable.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I just don't. So, Charles, I don't know if it's a new social disorder. I think it's a disorder that's gotten progressively worse because it's not punished.
Yeah,
I think like these young idiots that think that they can go on strike and tell Twitter what the rules are, or tell YouTube that they don't like what's going on, so they're going to go on strike or they're going to shut down. They're not going to, unless they get their way. In other words, employees running a business.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with the whole other stuff we see in society today. You know, there's just a lack of respect. You know, and not being on time is a lack of respect for somebody else's time. You know, if you have an appointment to meet with somebody, you know, and you don't show up, you're disrespecting their time because everybody's busy. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody's got someplace to be. And it just kind of goes along with all the other decay we've seen in society over the last years.
Yeah, I think it is decay. I think it's also a lack of self-respect, that people who can't be on time, they don't value themselves. If they knew what they had to say and what they were doing was valuable, then they would be on time because it has value.
Yeah.
When I show up at a place, people are waiting on me and the decisions I'm making, just like you. You understand, you live it. Right? You've got an order to fill, it's got to be done when you say it's going to be done.
Yeah.
It's I have an issue with the time.
If I have an appointment, I always get there 10, 15 minutes early. And, you know, when I walk in, I say I'm early, you know, I'll be happy to wait. And, you know, they're available early. Great. But, you know, I beat the crap out of myself if I show up late somewhere. That is just a pet peeve of mine. It's something that's been drilled into my head my entire life, you know.
In the military, you're on time or early, you know, at least 5 minutes early. But the reason you're on time is it's part of being disciplined. It's part of being aware. It's part of understanding that other people are counting on you. And in the event it's a life-threatening mission, if you're not on time, if you're not where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be, you're compromising other people's safety and lives.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 5 minutes late and you hold up 50 other guys because you're 5 minutes late, that's 250 minutes of lost time.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're not, yeah. you're holding up 250 people who are now not going to be able to fulfill their mission.
Yep.
And if their mission is to protect others, to provide support, how about this, right? You're supposed to have air support in a war. What if that plane doesn't arrive with the missiles and the bombs to support you? You're getting the shit killed out of you. It's just, and I know that's the extreme military example, but that's why it's so important, because you can take it to an extreme and you can see the consequences.
Yep.
But anyway, these kids, they don't respect themselves. See, when I tell someone I'm going to be there, I'm there because I respect my own word and value what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's got to be some major situation that happens if I'm ever late somewhere.
Yeah. If I'm late, it's because I was in a frickin' accident and I lost a limb.
Right. All right,
man. Thank you for that.
We got a bunch left here, so
social disorder, but it is a social disorder. All right, thank you, Charles. Great topic to talk about because it has its part in the world of SHTF. Okay, let us continue. Mr. Uman, we got Garbage Benny checking in. He says, why does society want us so angry? I just started a new job and once starting realized it was 2 jobs in one. But I know I will not complain. I will adapt. Why does society want us so angry? That's an interesting question. First, I have to decide, does society want us angry? And what I see is the attempt to divide the country into 1 group, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5, and so on, to divide us and then to pit us against one another. We're angry about everything. We're angry about race, which shouldn't matter. We're angry about everything, right? Well, it comes from greed, corruption, incompetence, and just plain old evil. And unfortunately, the angry is usually on the decline side of cultural evolution or an empire's existence. The anger gets worse and worse and ultimately erupts in violence. So, yep, this is where we're at, Garbage Benny. Take note, put a mark on the calendar, because it's not going to get any better. You're not going to get a President Reagan who comes along and everything is, well, let's work on it. Let's make things better. We had Trump who tried, make America great again. Great slogan. Who opposed that? The angry fruitcakes, the angry racists, the angry socialists. You bet. You bet. They're the angry ones. They're the ones committing atrocities. They're the ones pushing for war. All right. Good topic, Garbage Benny. Thank you. And we got Uman back. He says, oh, on the news radio today, they said that with all the heat waves all over the world, the Earth this year is the hottest it's been in 122,000 years. How the hell would they know that? How would they know that? 1 year. All the heat waves. They were pushing this lie back in the 1990s, folks. Watch the movie The Arrival with Charlie Sheen. It's about aliens who come to Earth and start terraforming the planet, heating it up intentionally because they like it hot. And the way you would see things in that movie, they're always sweating and woo, hot. Arizona's always hot, right? And then they go down to Mexico where they're pumping out all these greenhouse gases, where it's always hot. Hold that thought, man. Right, it's so hot that it's not as hot as it was in 1100. That's right, less than 1,000 years ago. In England, it was hot enough that they could grow grapes, right, in England, that they would live. Not now, but still they're going to claim it's that hot. Hotter than it's been in 122,000 years. I think I would rather quote the Nobel Prize-winning scientist who said, climate science is fraud. Climate science is not science. Their model is corrupt. It's failed. So how can we trust it? But Uman says this, pretty soon Obama's mansion on Martha's Vineyard is going to be deep underwater as the chef. Oh, too soon, man, too soon. Oh, I just got a meme yesterday sent to me. I think it came from Mr. Skylight. And thank you, Mr. Skylight, for continuing to make me laugh and cry simultaneously. But the meme was a picture of the Statue of Liberty 100 years ago. Statue of Liberty and the island it stands on. Water level, exactly the same. We've had 100 years of not just the United States, but every single country on every single continent, except Antarctica, has expanded, burned more energy, become more industrialized, produced more as the population has gone up. And yet the water has not risen a single inch. Plymouth Rock, where the Pilgrims landed, is still sitting there on the shore. It's not under the water. It's on the Plymouth Rock. Yeah, the whole thing is a crock of shit. It really is. It truly is, folks. Chin Music is back. And Chin, thanks for all the great support you have offered as well as your particular sense of humor and satire. He says, who is it that has weather records from 122,000 years ago? Google? Wikipedia? Exactly. Now, I'm sure they can scientifically core ice drill in the Antarctica and pull up these ice and estimate the age that they're looking at and get an idea, a concept of what was in the air maybe back then. Maybe. I don't like to call that climate science. In fact, I hardly like to call that research. I mean, it's more like, well, I mean, it's research, but you can't draw solid conclusions from it. All you can say is, hey, look, there's different levels of smoke and soot and shit in the ice from a long time ago. But they really want us to believe it's precise. See, they couldn't just say 100,000 years ago. No. They couldn't just say 120,000 years ago. They said 122,000 years ago. Really? Why not go further? Why not go 122,000 years ago? No, 122,962. And it wasn't just that year, way back then. Well, the heat wave started on July 17th, 122,962 years ago. That's when the heat wave started. That's the last time it was this hot. I mean, why not put a fucking date to it? Why not? If they can say 122, that's pretty freaking precise for looking at a chunk of ice. Or how else did they come up with that number? It's just it's Wikipedia is right, Chin. Anyways, brother, thank you very much. And we're going to wind down here on the Prepared Mind channel. I'm going to bring it back down. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Are you ready, folks? Are you ready for it? Because it's coming. But doing stuff with Nikki, she's not going to let me go. She said this, Jim Cantori's super duper extra great grand something. That's who has those old records. Exactly. Right. I don't trust meteorologists today to get the weather right tomorrow. But they're going to tell me what the weather was 122,962 years ago on July 17th. I don't fucking think so. Stupid strikes back. Semper Fi to you all. God bless America. Get prepared, because these people aren't going to quit.